On this episode, I talk about how to use the right font for a company logo. So when you are designing a logo type for a company and you want to know what type of font to use in order to communicate what the company is all about, you need to frame it as what is the type equivalent of company X's personality. So as a logo designer, you need to find out what your client is aiming for. Ask your client, what do they aim for the company to become in the next 5 or 20 years? That usually brings out descriptive words of what they want their company to be perceived as. And what you want to take from that conversation with your client is, what is the company personality that they are describing? So when your client uses words like, oh, I want to be an expensive premium brand that only the big boys can afford, and you take those words, and what you actually do to find out what font to use for the logo type of the company is you actually find out what imagery conveys those characteristics. So you go and search Google, you ask people around, you look for society's visual classification of those characteristics. How do people perceive expensive, premium, professional and classy, for an example? So brands like Dior, Hermes, Louis Vuitton, all of them, they have a commonality that is represented in their choice of typeface. And from these brands alone, you can tell what society is already perceiving expensive premium brands as. So the obvious typeface to choose for this project is a serif typeface, because serif typefaces are already used by premium, professional and expensive brands. What we are doing here is being in the end user's shoes and see what they are perceiving each characteristic as. And this is a much easier thing because people always put stuff in boxes. People are already pre-classifying things into categories in their mind, like expensive brands, oh, they look like this. Premium brands, they look like this. What we are doing here is just bringing out that classification. Another case study. So let's say your client is selling motorbike parts to Harley Davidson riders, and so the company aims to attract the people that ride Harley Davidson bikes. So in order to attract them, they need to look just like them. And the pop culture perception of Harley riders is that they're tough, rugged and really badass, and you do not want to mess with them. So those 4 characteristics, you want to see what imagery comes up in people's minds when they hear those characteristics. So tough, rugged and badass. What is something that already has those 3 characteristics? Tattoos. People with tattoos are already perceived as those 3 things. And so you generally want to break down what is the most common type of tattoo that people get, and what font do they use in that tattoo in order to convey themselves as tough, rugged and badass. Black letter, or diploma font, or the Grand Theft Auto San Andreas font that you see in the video game. This is like the toughest font in existence, in my opinion. No other font is as gangster as this font. And so you use that font to design the logo for the company that wants to sell to Harley riders. You want to find out from your client that you are designing for, what do they want people to perceive their company as in 20 years time. And the next step is to find society's visual classification of those characteristics that they just described. And so that is how you know what typeface or font to use in a company logo type. It is generally how you attract the target audience and what typeface speaks to them in terms of what they appreciate. People who are rich and feel like they're premium wants to buy stuff that is similar to them, that feels rich and premium as well. And so your matchmaking for that company, you want to use a typeface that looks rich and premium. However, this is just the typeface part of logo design. The overall logo has way more characteristics than just the typeface, right? For example, visual elements like how detailed is the logo, how well are the logo's letters spaced, what other visual elements are inside the logo like swashes or texture. There's a lot of factors that affect the perspective of the logo and the company, but typeface is one of the major contributing factors. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it, and I'll see you in the next one.